Tucker Whitman.
Here.
Andy Dennison.
Present.
Ben Vitale.
Present.
Chris Petrus.
Present.
Paul Pinkney is excused. Aileen McNabb Coleman.
Present.
Keith Batman.
Here.
Joseph DeForest.
Here.
Charlie Ripley.
Present.
Joseph Bennett.
Here.
Elaine Daly.
Better.
Here.
Timothy Lattimore.
Here.
Michael Didio.
Here.
Ryan Foley.
Present.
Patrick Mahoney.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of prayer. And remember the families of Mary Debiau, mother of Terry Debiau, Cayuga County Treasurer employee, and Ruth O'Hara, wife of Ward O'Hara, contributed greatly to the Agricultural Museum. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, I'd like to open the public hearing to adopt, to adopt local law for the year 2018, providing for salary increases for certain county officers and officials appointed for a fixed term during their term. Just as a reminder, this is not for the legislature, this is for some other people. Is there anybody that would like to speak to the local law? All right, we will check in frequently throughout the meeting. We have no proclamations. Do we have anybody for public to be heard? Any legislators to any privilege of the floor?
Okay, minutes for approval, 12/14 of 17 and 1/14 of 18.
Move them.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. CCC report, Dr. Durant.
Mr. Chairman, good evening, everyone. Happy New Year to all. Just a few updates. One, I want to just recognize one of our trustees with us today, Angela Tadavo. Thanks for being here. This month, January, the trustees decided not to have a regular scheduled meeting in January. Instead, we're working through some committee work and planning preparation for our February meeting. This week on Monday we started our classes for the spring semester. As I've been indicating every month, we continue to be on pace. We hit our enrollment goals for the spring. We continue to be on pace to hit our budget marks, hit our enrollment projections, resulting in slight growth from last year to this year for the college. Now we transition already, really looking ahead to 2018-19, both from a budget development perspective and from an enrollment perspective. Before I talk a little bit about that, February, the college budget or the college audit will be in review for our trustees' consideration. You know, as we looked at year-end closing back at the end of August, we exceeded our revenues last year and certainly had some expenses that we weren't realizing and some savings. As a net result, we're going to be adding over $1.5 million to our fund balance, which is a good position for us to be in. You know, as a college, certainly some of the challenges that we've been through, our focus for the last couple of years have been to stabilize our finances and to introduce budget modeling to be able to, be as accurate as we can be with projections when it comes to enrollment and when it comes to actual budget. So for the last 2 years, we've been able to do so. Our fund balance now will be approximately $3.7 million, which, as you know, a couple of years ago, it was projected to be under $1 million. So to be able to get it to the point to exceed 10%, and now having 2 years where we've been able to meet our enrollment benchmarks with our projections and our finances, we feel as though that some of the methodologies we're introducing and some of our approach to planning is at least helping us to be more accurate. And when we do that, that helps us to move through our year rather routinely when it comes to decision making and our investments where we can. So a lot of work by our trustees and certainly the rest of the leadership in the college community to be able to have a year end like that. And if we work for the rest of this year, we're going to be focused on still making responsible decisions. The budget development, we're in the infant stages, and where it starts, similar to you, is we focus really on what our revenue projections will be for 18-19, and our first sort of glimpse on the external controls is where the state starts with their executive budget. This year, as has been the case in recent years. Governor Cuomo introduced his executive budget with no increase for community college base aid funding. And you know, the last couple of years I've been here to you saying how that really is crippling to us as an institution to not have increased investment from our states in a time where our mission is to make sure we have affordable access to higher education and to keep our tuition down. Fortunately, with your support, we were able to only do a 1% tuition increase this year. And you know, our responsibility as trustees and leadership is to keep our tuition down. But the absence of being able to get more support locally from our county and more support from our state, that leaves us really no choice but to either look at other ways to make cuts, perhaps reduce services, which none of us want to do. But at this point, we really just need to be focused on advocating for the state of New York to increase their support for community colleges. I won't spend much more time on that today other than to set up the fact that in February, I'm going to be looking to this group to be able to share sort of in depth the advocacy that the community college presidents are doing. In general, we're looking for an overhaul of the entire system for the way we're funded for community colleges. Community colleges are funded on a base aid formula that results in a per FTE reimbursement. And I've spent a lot of time over the last couple of years breaking down methodology. But to keep it simple, you get funded per pupil, and you get funded on a sense that on a 3-year rolling average from the previous years. So when you've been at college, like many of us have been in decline in enrollment, even if we result in $50 increase, it's going to be several $100,000 lost for us in base aid. So for the community college perspective, as it stands today for Cayuga, a $0 increase in base aid from the state of New York will result in over a $400,000 loss in base aid. And for us, we need to do our part to advocate to not only keep base aid where it is, but hopefully look for an increase. So I'll be talking in detail for that next month. I'll be sharing literature and information to you all to help support us in our advocacy at the state level. But it's going to be an important time, as you know, as we try to do our best to advocate for our students' behalf over the next couple of months. That really concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
County Administrators Report. Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to start by thanking my staff and Steve Lynch for holding down the fort while I was away for a few days. There was some flooding that occurred in parts of the county while I was away, and the Emergency Management Office and Steve and Dan all did a great job in both addressing the situation and also keeping me apprised of the situation while I was away, and, as well as keeping you informed. So thank you to everybody and great work. We're continuing to monitoring the flooding situation in various parts of the county. There's some watches out right now, but we don't have any warnings, so we're keeping tabs on things, and we'll keep you apprised of anything else that comes through there. The main thing I wanted to talk about this week, well, there was two things I wanted to brief you on. I did meet with the Department of State and the city to start preparing for shared service planning. I'm going to reach out to meet with the town supervisors and begin to move forward with the shared service planning, because we have a report due later this year. And I want to thank Mr. Batman for leaving me a wealth of resources on that as well. I think you may have seen in the report from either Public Works or Parks, there had been a request to bring forward a resolution to declare. Is this not on? Do I have to pull it closer? Or I could go stand up, I guess. Is that better?
Yeah.
Do I need to start over?
No.
Okay. At least we're unanimous. That's good. Bipartisanship. There had been a request to bring forward a resolution to the legislature declaring part of Emerson Park as a county fairground. I met with the planning staff. We reviewed that proposal in the context of the master plan that the legislature has already adopted as a policy statement, and determined that that proposal, and from a staff perspective, was inconsistent with the policy that you've already adopted. Should the legislature want us to look at that, we certainly can review the master plan for an update and kind of work through the committee structure for a policy review. But as of now, it seems that the legislature has already spoken on a policy by adopting the master plan, and that proposal didn't seem consistent with it, so we didn't want to come forward with a resolution to do something that was inconsistent with the policy that you've already established. The last piece I wanted to do, and I can talk more about this with you individually, was just how I would do my reporting going forward. What I would like to do is kind of use this time to give you whatever updates it is that you're looking for, primarily on the policy development and the resolutions that you'll be addressing for the evening, and then begin to work with the staff to prepare a monthly report on behalf of the entire county at the end of each month that we would issue, make available to you, make available to the public on the website, and then really use our time here and in committees to focus on the resolutions and the policy you're developing, but use the monthly report to be kind of our vehicle for distributing, routine updates to you. I'm going to be meeting with the staff tomorrow morning in the department head meeting to begin to talk about how we can do that. So I welcome any of the feedback or input you might have on that, or any further discussions you want to have. Thank you.
Any questions? Mr. Lattimore?
In regards to the review for the fairgrounds, I know that there was some discussion with Charlie from Moravia in regards that they have some property there. Are we looking at other options besides just the front foot of the lake?
Yeah, from our administrative standpoint, we don't think the lake is consistent with the policy you've adopted for the master plan for Emerson Park. But I do think we should, from a planning and parks perspective, work with, if we need to find a place to have a designated county fairgrounds, that's something we need to look at. But unless the legislature wants us to relook at the policy for Emerson Park, our administrative recommendation is to not bring that forward.
I'd like to have Moravia considered. I think it would be a great spot.
Great. I'll have planning and parks follow up with Legislator Ripley about locations and continue to work with the other people who are advocating for developing a location for that.
So as a temporary location, is the park off is the feeling that Emerson Park is off the list of where it can be in the immediate future?
I don't think that was the recommendation of staff. I think the idea was that the designation of it as a fairgrounds and the erection of structures to that end wasn't necessarily consistent with the master plan. But I don't think there was, and I'll have to confirm with Steve and the planning staff, but I don't believe there was an objection to holding events there. No. Thank you, Steve.
Mr. Dennison?
Why not work with the college? Something, that soccer field down below, behind the Ag Museum, where this fair has been going on, would create so much more room. I don't know. I'm concerned with talking about moving it to the southern end of the county or northern end of the county. At least here, we're kind of centralized. And
yeah, I think that we have to work with the people involved and identify the right location for it. But as I said, from the planning recommendation, which will be part of our monthly report that you'll get at the beginning of February for January, will outline what was perceived as the inconsistencies with the master plan for that particular location in Emerson Park. But I do support a rigorous effort to find a good location for the long-term hosting. If we want to designate official fairgrounds and build structures and host events there, then we need to have a facility and a location that can support that.
Mr. Whitman?
If we're throwing names in the hat, Sterling Nature Center's got a ton of land, and we're actually looking to build a structure or two up there. So
there you go.
Just saying.
I did meet with them recently, and again, they're undergoing a planning process right now. So I think if that's a proposal that's on the table, we can look at that in the context of that planning and whether that's the right site for it. And I think there's a lot of input that needs to be had into a process that we might not solve all right now. But that the main thing I wanted to share in my report was that at least in terms of designated long-term permanent home for a fairground, that didn't seem consistent with the master plan that the legislature adopted for Emerson Park. And I believe there was also a recommendation against that from the people who run the Agriculture Museum, And I'd have to confirm with Gary about the Parks Commission.
The Parks Commission didn't weigh in on it, but the Ag Commission did.
Recommend against it, yeah. So the Ag Commission did also recommend against that location, for which I think validated our analysis from a staff perspective.
Mr. Foley?
Just moving on from the fairgrounds thing, you said to ask any questions that we might have. The governor just released his budget, and I know that at the county level, we always try to stay ahead of things from the federal government or from the state. Do you have any analysis planned, not of his entire budget, of course, but of any big ticket items that you can eventually share with the legislature to kind of give us an update, to make sure that we are trying to stay ahead of things?
Yeah, NISAC released their preliminary analysis of the budget, which I'm in the process of going through. A copy of that will also be included in the report. A number of you will also be going to the NISAC conference next week, where I think we'll have an even better idea of what some of the proposals in the executive budget mean. But yes, I'll share the entire brief for the with the legislature of NISAC's analysis, and then what any of that particularly means for us in Cayuga County.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anybody that would like to speak to the local law? All right, my report. It's been 19 days, so I'm not going to take a whole lot of time, but just want to give you, I want to echo the county administrators' words of gratitude to Steve and Neil and Dan for their work with the flooding in Port Byron, and all the people in their departments. They did a great job, and were able to get people where they needed to be and avert a potentially not so good situation. Also like to commend Kathleen Cuddy, and I believe it's our highway department, for the manure spill that happened in the Cayuga Lake watershed. I did speak with the DEC Regional Director, Marco, who did say that the quality, Kathleen also said the drinking water was fine, and the quality of water in Cayuga Lake was not impacted. I guess it was discovered around 7:50-ish, 58 a.m., and the highway department dumped a load of topsoil into the ditch to keep it from going into the lake, or slow it from going into the lake, so that was a great thing to have happen, obviously. County administrator and I met with Congressman Katko's rep, regional rep, trying to establish a positive working relationship with that office. I'm also working with setting up meetings with our other local elected officials. I've been speaking with Colleen Deacon in the governor's office about the flooding, about the manure spill. Tomorrow I'm having a conversation about interests and issues and goals for the county, so if anybody wants to email me anything that you would like to put on the governor's radar, I'd be more than happy to share that with her. I also started talking to her about we got the FEMA declaration up in the north part of the county, but starting to look at the southern part of the county. I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if we can combine those two events, we can meet the threshold. Am I way out there? Or?
We are not able to combine those two events. They're two separate animals. The state threshold was met for the north in April, May, and the state threshold was met for the south in July, but they're two separate animals, two separate declaration requests.
Okay.
The state appealed FEMA's decision to deny the south, and they have a 90-day window to act upon that appeal, and cautiously optimistic, but not overwhelmingly so.
That's the same process that we went through with the appeal in the north that was just overturned, and so now we have the declaration in the north. So we're optimistic that will also happen in the south, but we'll just have to wait and see.
So when I had your ear, I just mentioned that. So if there's anything they can do to help us, so be it. I'm also reaching out to the neighboring counties that are similar to our size and population, to the chairs there, to kind of determine if there's any common issues that we can all work together on when it comes to lobbying with the state. So I will update you on that as it goes forward. I will be attending NISAC with a bunch of you next week, so I look forward to that and reporting back to what we learned there. So, any questions? Mr. Lattimore.
Mr. Chairman, in the shared services, I did reach out to Justin, and I know there was a comment made by one of the legislators in regards to trying to get a better buy on our gas and electric buy, working with Seneca County and maybe some other counties. I know that there's other counties that do similar things, but I think that Seneca is probably more like us than we know. They have similar issues like with Indians and what have you. But anyways, I appreciate working with Justin in regards to getting those contracts so we can see whether or not we can piggyback off of Seneca County to save us some money on the gas and electric. Just a small thing, but I think it's a start.
It's definitely a start. Other questions?
Okay.
All right.
Appointments and reappointments? Okay. Community Services Board, David Seeley, Seneca Falls, term 1/1/18 to 12/31/21. It's a reappointment. Cayuga County Soil and Water Conservation District Board of Directors, Terry Baxter, Moravia, New York, 1/1/18 to 12/31/20. This is a new appointment. Roger Connor, Genoa, New York, 1/1/18 to 12/31/20, a reappointment. And Cayuga County Public Utility Service Agency, Michael Long, Auburn, New York, 2/1/18 to 3/31/2021, unexpired term of Ron Colella.
We have a motion on the appointments and reappointments.
Move them. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Communications and announcements. Mr. Bennett,
Motion to waive the reading of them?
do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. We will jump right into resolutions. Ways and Means, Mr. Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ways and Means, we have the regular monthly resolutions, 1A, 1B, and 1C, have all been through committee and passed. I'd like to offer them up as a bundle.
The motion to bundle.
Move it.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And 1D was added on January 18th, and all that is just a housekeeping one. I'd like to move that.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Patton. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is
Thank
carried.
Thank you. Ways and Means had 8 resolutions, WM1 through WM7 have all been through committee and passed. I'd like to offer them up as a bundle.
Any discussion on the bundle? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And WM8 was pulled.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Health and Human Services, Ms. Daly.
Yes, Health and Human Services had 14 resolutions, 1 from Office for Aging, 5 from the Health Department, 8 from Social Services. 11 were contracts with outside agencies, 3 were contracts within county department between health, DSS and IT, and DSS and the employment and training. I would like to separate out HH8 and HH14 to be voted on separately, but the rest I would ask to bundle, and they've been through committee and got full support.
So we have a motion to bundle HH1 through HH7 and HH9 through HH13.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Those are carried. HH8?
HH8 and HH14 are both contracts with Cayuga Counseling, one for juvenile delinquent diversion, the other for specialized services, and I'd like to vote on those separately.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to abstain from 8 and 14, please.
Can you still bundle with these? Yeah. Okay. So we have a motion to bundle HH8 and 14 with Mr. Petrus abstaining on both resolutions.
Move them.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Anything else for us? All right, Government Ops, Mr. Foley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Government Operations has 3 resolutions that went through committee, passed. I offer them up as a bundle unless anyone wants them singled out. HH4 was tabled in favor of having an executive session tonight to discuss further.
GO4.
I'm sorry, yes, GO4. HH4.
So we had GO1, GO2, and GO3 offered as a bundle. Any discussion?
Move it.
Motion, Mr. Dennison?
Move it.
Second? Now any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Mr. Lattimore opposed. All right. Planning, Ms. McNabb Coleman.
Mr. Chairman, planning has one resolution. It's been through committee, passed, and I offer it tonight.
Motion for PL1.
Move it.
Second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Once again, I would like to ask if anybody would like to speak to the local law. All right. Moving on to Public Works, Mr. Whitman.
Mr. Chairman, Public Works has 3 resolutions. They've all been through both committees. I'd like to offer them as a bundle unless anyone would like any separated.
We have a motion to bundle PW1 through PW3.
Move them.
Second? Discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Lattimore.
in regards to the courthouse for the old post office building, I wasn't at that meeting. Is the city, I mean, I was at a city council meeting where they were talking about expanding the size of their city court by 3 times the size that we allocate now at the courthouse. Are we making arrangements to accommodate that tenant, or?
Would they like to buy a post office?
I'll let the county administrator respond to that, as we just had that discussion.
Yeah, the county attorney and I met with the city manager and the city attorney this afternoon, and we're looking at what their needs are and trying to figure out, in the context of the state court system regulations, what we can do. But these are just routine maintenance items that need to be done regardless of those other discussions.
But they generate for us, what, $120,000 now? If we lost that tenant, we'd have to make that up.
I don't remember what the rental is, but we would lose that if they left. But I'm not sure they intend to leave at this point.
Further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Judicial and Public Safety, Mr. Dennison.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. JPS had 7 resolutions. JP6 was tabled. 1 through 5 and 7, I'd like to bundle. They've been through both committees.
A motion for JP 1 through 5 and JP 7. Second? Mr. Ripley. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. We need to go into executive for the large resolution. Come on, Ms. Scott.
Close the public hearing or go to executive session. No. And then reopen the public hearing and ask if there's anybody who wants to speak.
That would be good to
That would be
go.
good.
Okay. So we will temporarily close the public hearing and entertain a motion to go into executive session for personnel matters, contracts, litigation.
Move it.
Second.
Second.
Third.
There will be potential for action after, and obviously, public hearing will be opened back up after. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. I would like to invite in the sheriff and Fred. And the administrator.
Mr. Russell?
And Mr. Russell.
Question for you. Microphone go on that.
Yeah.